morning, everyone. Welcome to Jazz and Rock and Roll Horns. All you adept accordion authorities, cagey cornet consultants, crackerjack keyboard connoisseurs. I've been working on a few of those. Anyway, welcome to session 36. We're going to talk about arranging techniques or concepts. You know, it's great to know all these bag of tricks that you can use, but what are you going to do with them, right? You got to make some music, and this is a big subject. I might take this one in two parts. We'll see. So there's only when you're looking at typically you have melody, harmony, and rhythm. Okay. Typically in a piece of music, you're selling one of those three ideas. It's either the melody or the harmony or the rhythm. Okay, a lot of nowadays we're talking about rhythm a lot, not so much about harmony, melodies. Don't get me started on today's pop music. But anyway, so there's typically a melody going on. Okay, there's counter melody, something countering the melody, you know, a back and forth somehow, and there's a rhythm going on. So if you take a typical orchestra, let's say the violins have the melody, okay? And the low violins are tick, 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 tick underneath. That's the rhythm. And then maybe the brass are playing something counter to what the violins are playing. That would be your counter melody. And those can be things like, you know, obligatos, ostinatos, you know, those kind of things. So I broke it down into 8 ideas. The first one being double the melody. Okay, doubling the melody is really can be, you know, I think it's forgotten a lot. People don't think about that one very much, but that can be really strong. A lot of times if you really want a real strong idea, double the melody, double it down an octave, double it up an octave, prime unison. That's a good one. Another one that's good for orchestral music, or, you know, instrumental music rather, is free lead. You know, when the other horns are, let's say you have a melody, okay, and okay, there's our melody right there. Okay, so instead of voicing down all these notes, harmonizing all these notes, let's say you got 4 or 5 horns, or even 3 for that matter, you're voicing down. Just, you could do something like this. Let's say our C is our chord, so we want to voice down. Okay, so maybe with here we want to go, you know, make these dotted quarters, make these the G, and I mean the B, which is the major 7th. That's another way to write a major 7th if you haven't seen that. Here's the 3rd, major 7th, and the 5th. So we could just go and write a passing chord here. We could go up to the C and up to the A and follow right up, you know, with our voicing. But let's say, so we're going to do a free lead. So that means that the lead part is not necessarily attached to all the voicings underneath. So we do a dotted quarter here, then we could do an 8th note here. I guess we couldn't we? You know, and then a dotted quarter tied over, or not necessarily. Or how about make this a half note? Okay, and then this plays. So this is your free lead right here. He's just playing by himself. You know, ba ba ba, and he's going ba da 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 da, and we're just going ba 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 underneath it with our other 2 voicings, or if we had more voicings, more voices rather. So that's pretty much, you know, what a free lead does. And you know, choir kind of stuff, like a brass choir or something like that, or you can experiment with that idea. You could do, some backup vocals with that kind of an idea if you wanted. And with horns, it works really well. Okay? Anything. All this stuff applies to any group of instruments. It just doesn't have to be, just a horn section. Okay? Now, another one that we hear all the time, that we use quite a bit, is a sustained pad. Okay? So it is exactly what it says it is. It's just, let's say our chords are E flat, major 7th to F minor. Okay, 1 to 2. Okay, sustained pad is just what it is. It's a, there's an F to the F minor. And then the melody is whatever is over the top. But it's sustained. It holds. It's a pad underneath. And, whenever you write chord changes out, what the listener's really going to be hearing is this top note. So when we hear the E flat and the top note of the pad, the backup part, or if it is a backup part, is this top note. That you hear the top note is what you key in on, and then you just hear that it's harmonized underneath. Okay? So make sure on your pads, on your sustained pad, that the melody note is jiving with the top note, some way making some sort of sense with the top note of your pad. Okay? And now another thing is a percussive pad. So let's go back to our E flat, to our F minor chord. Okay? So before I just played whole notes for pad, okay? So instead of the whole notes, now we can go, here's for 3 horns. We're going to go something like this. Okay. What is that? 1, 2. Oh, this is an 8th. This would be an 8th rest. Right. This would be an 8th rest right here. That's an 8th rest. Okay. So instead of whole notes, now we have bop, 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 ba-da. Okay? Ba-da. This is basically would be written like this. This would be, if this is short, I would just make this 8th notes, and then we're back to our quarter note here. This would be a quarter note rest. So, bop, da-da, da-da, instead of the ba. So, we have percussive pad. A 5th idea would be using a melodic fill. We've heard those 1,000 times. Okay? So the melody's going along, and then you hear, when the melody stops or holds a long note, then you have a fill. So if we have, E flat to F minor, if here's our melody. Okay, and then the melody holds. Ba-da-da-da. And when the melody holds, we have some activity. That's okay. Here's your melody. Here's your fill, or the fill could start here. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So the melody's going, I like to do, and the guys in the back are going, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2, and da 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 do ba boo boo bang, that kind of thing. So we've heard them countless times, so we have melodic fill. Okay, so number 6 on arranging techniques, I have obligato. And an obligato is really nothing more than a counter melody to a counterpoint to the melody. Not to be confused with ostinato, which we'll cover here in a sec. But an obligato, I mean, just, somebody riffing behind the singer, guitar riff, sax, whatever, and the melody's going, whether it's a vocal or an instrumental, and there's something going on counter to it. It can be below it, above it, in the same register as what the melody's doing, but it's just a countering to the it's counterpoint to the melody. And that's basically what obligato is. So you could write your melody out and then write a counter melody underneath. I think we talked about doing simple counterpoint. Basically, it's kind of an obligato. Now, the 7th item on arranging techniques is ostinato. Now, in the case of an ostinato, it does repeat itself. So if you have, some guitar riff that repeats, like that is a 2-bar pattern, that would be an ostinato. Or let's say you have a flute line, or let's say the strings are going, over the top of whatever the melody is. That would be an ostinato. That would be the difference. An ostinato, from what I understand, specifically repeats itself. And so we see that a lot. Let's say there's a synth line happening that's just that would be an ostinato. Okay, so that's an ostinato. And the last item, one of my favorites, is a pedal point. Now, a pedal point typically is, just a long tone. In the purest sense, it's just a long tone that's just constant, okay, as whatever happening underneath. It doesn't need to be, it could be in the intro, it can be underneath the melody, it can be pretty much anywhere. And it can be below the melody, it can be above, high, it can be in the same register, it can be the root, it can be the 5th of the chord, it can be a common tone. And there's a similarity between ostinato and a pedal. Like, let's say the guy's doing a chicken picking on the root. Let's say it's E7 and the guitar guy's going, or the horns are going, and they're kind of holding one tone as the changes are moving. So let's say you had 2-5-1 in F, and here's F, and you had them all play. There's a common tone, the 4th of G minor, the root of C7, and the 5th of, and we can make that into an ostinato by adding notes to it and making it a 2-bar pattern or a 4-bar pattern for that matter. So you get the idea. Pedal tones are great. We have them in all kinds. Ostinatos and pedals are very common in popular music. There's the egg timer. Gotta love the egg timer. This, for all of you who don't know, I use an egg timer so that otherwise I will go on and on forever. And I'm trying to keep these tutorials in a sane span of time. And so otherwise I'll just go on and on and on. So I need my egg timer. And it's a lovely egg timer. It's red. So thank you, egg timer. So those are arranging techniques. And that'll give you, something to do with all these techniques that you've learned. Okay? Go and listen to what other people are doing. When you listen to records that you like, think about what's going on. Okay, that sounds like an ostinato. That's this. That's a fill. That's a sustain pad, percussive pad. Those kind of things. And a lot of times you'll hear, like, especially in orchestral music, You'll hear changing from one technique to the next, and stuff's kind of weaving in and out, that sort of thing, depending on the piece of music. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who has ordered the ebook and the video scores. And in the video scores, we do a study of, there's 8 pieces, and they're popular arrangements, groups like Tower Power, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Earth, Wind and Fire, and then I put a couple of jazzy tunes, like there's a super sax, which I loved. I learned about them when I lived in LA, and were fabulous with their Charlie Parker arrangements. But I want to thank everybody for ordering those, and don't forget to shoot me an email, fred@fredstickleymusic.com. I love hearing from everybody with all your questions. It's great. It makes me know that there's people out there. So until the next time, thanks for stopping by.